Welcome to Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Chris Lee. Special episode today. And by the way, I'm coming at you from the road. So don't have my normal mic. If it sounds a little different, that's it. Special guest, Kent Padgett. We struggled with what to call him. Basically, he's a FanDuel content creator who knows and loves sports. We're going to talk about a bunch of SEC football-related topics going into Thanksgiving weekend. Kent, thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. A lot of fun stuff going on. Huge weekend. So thrilled to talk about it with you.
Yeah, well, let's start in Mississippi, where Lane Kiffin has been the talk of college football for a few weeks as he continues to string along Ole Miss, LSU, and Florida simultaneously. I'm a little surprised when I look at FanDuel's line. I thought that Ole Miss would have been probably closer to a 10-point favorite. I think it's 7.5 as we speak. Maybe the chaos was built in already. Just give me your general thoughts on this situation and how it impacts a game that, frankly, Ole Miss really needs to win to make the playoff. I'm not saying they couldn't get in without it, but it becomes a more difficult climb for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. With Mississippi State, they are a feisty team. We saw them hang in there. A lot of games this year have been close losses. The Texas game was obviously down to the wire. So it should still be a good game. But like you said, this is a must-win for Ole Miss. Playoff seeding, you want to host a playoff game. I can see where, we're looking at somewhere between 7 and 10 points, but I'm still confident in Ole Miss being able to block out the distractions. We've talked about the Lane Kiffin stuff, wild stuff going on, but I do think this group's going to be able to block out some of that noise. And I mean, let's be honest, a lot of the noise is probably created by Jimmy Sexton, Lane's agent. So right. we always have to separate like what is. Yeah, and it's you got to think about what is actually the real story here, because just because Jimmy Sexton, he's the best in the world at creating chaos, drumming up interest for his guys, building his guys' profiles up. Some of the noise we're hearing might not be from inside the program or might not even be distractions for these guys. It might just be Jimmy Sexton playing the media like a fiddle. So I think Ole Miss as a team is going to be all right, and I'm confident in their ability against Mississippi State.
Yeah, I kind of am too. I mean, State has had a week off to prepare for this, but boy, the defense has just gotten so leaky lately. 8 yards of play against Missouri, 7.7 against Georgia. I mean, maybe the rest helps, but it just feels like Ole Miss is an offensive machine. The players have a lot to play for, even if the coach isn't going to be there, and who knows at this point.
Well, I think also Lane's the perfect guy for this era of college football where players are on the move a lot, coaches are on the move a lot, and I think he shoots straight with his guys. And I know he talked to the team, or there was a report that he talked to the team in the last 2 weeks, but I think he's not the type of guy that's going to walk in and deny the allegations to his team. He's going to shoot them straight and say, look, we're all you guys DMs are probably full of other teams trying to poach you. Let's take it as a compliment. Let's finish the task at hand. We saw Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback, wild you even have to post this, but yesterday on Instagram, post like a long caption, we're all dialed in, we're focused. So, I think that the team is still sticking together, and it's probably an open book situation where, I mean, Lane even mentioned it earlier this year to the media. He was trying to, I think it was a defensive back. He didn't want to hype up too much and jokingly said, don't want to hype him up too much because there's other programs that are going to try to poach him. I think this whole era thing, Lane is probably handling it the right way, despite what we're hearing in the media. I think he's still got his guys under control, and his guys focused.
Yeah, I do too. I think Ole Miss is just the better team. I think they handle this one maybe a little easier than people think, but we'll see. It's a rivalry game; those are always interesting.
Always tough, but I'm with you on that. I think Ole Miss is going to be able to handle business, and they have a ton to play for. Mississippi State would like to play spoiler, but if Ole Miss is focused, I fully expect them to be. I think it should be a pretty easy one for the Rebs.
All right, speaking of rivalry games with playoff implications, got a couple more. Next one up, Vanderbilt going to Tennessee. Tennessee is, I think, a 2.5-point favorite. I feel like that might have started a point higher. What do you like about this game in particular?
Well, one, I'm fully expecting a shootout. I don't think it's any question there. The over-under is 65, and both teams are ranked over 100 in college football total passing defenses. So there's going to be the ball flying around in the air. Now, Vanderbilt's offense is ranked 19th in yards and 9th in points. Tennessee's offense in the country is 4th in yards and 4th in points. So if the defenses are both struggling, I think Tennessee's offense will be slightly better. Now, Tennessee's losses this year have come to like really stout defenses, Georgia, Bama, and then the Brent Venables Oklahoma defense, which single-handedly that defense is about to carry them into the playoff. Their offense has gotten terrible, but even Oklahoma, like the most points they've given up all year, Oklahoma was 27 to Tennessee. So I think we have a juggernaut of an offense going against a weak defense in Vanderbilt. I honestly think the over-under is a little low here. I expect Tennessee to blow through. The 2.5-point spread and the over-under of 65 implies Tennessee to win 34-31. I think the Volunteers blow through 34. I think Pavia is going to be great. I think Joey Aguilar is going to be great. But I think Tennessee gets into the 40s and probably wins this game 42-35. But I think we're in for a great game and a shootout.
Yeah, two things to watch there. Vanderbilt's defense, after a week to heal last week, was much better against Kentucky. A Kentucky team that played well. And, I don't think Kentucky got to 100 yards of offense until the last play of the third quarter. So that's your one caution on the over-under. The other thing I would say, though, too, Vanderbilt started to play tempo a little bit, which is not what they want to play, but they score fast. We know what Tennessee does. I think there's a lot of points in this game. I mean, I'm not going to say 65 by halftime. That would feel a little much. But I'm with you. I think even with that, it's going to be interesting to see, like, does Vanderbilt match Tennessee? And we see a game where each team runs 75 plays and, 100 points on the board between everybody by the time this one's done.
No, I completely agree. And by the way, I just swallowed my water wrong, so apologies if you hear the coughing.
We're good.
So yeah, and we talked about Pavia before, like being in the Heisman race. There's teams like Vanderbilt. I think when they realize their guy is close, he's gonna get a New York invite. It's foot on the gas even more. Let's pad his stats, especially against a team like Tennessee, a rivalry game. Pavia can make a statement. It just adds to the Heisman excitement there. So I think I'm with you. I think we see a ton of offense here. The tempos are going to be fast. And I think it'll be exciting. I just think Tennessee comes out on top ultimately, but I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be maybe one of the college football games of the year. Pavia really shot up the Heisman odds with that game against Kentucky. He broke the school passing record. Ran for a touchdown and some yards too. The perception is that the Big Ten quarterbacks or guys may have this one locked up. Fernando Mendoza has been the overwhelming odds guy. But, I mean, Pavia goes in and drops another 500 yards of total offense in Knoxville. You wonder what it looks like.
Yeah, and right now I think he's still got the fourth or fifth best odds to win it. He's right there with, like you said, the Big Ten guys, Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. And he's incredible. Like the storyline of him and Theo Vaughn and Diego's mom, like he's in the headlines, which helps with the Heisman case. This is the storylines all help to being like the guy in college football. But one thing I think hurts Pavia is that Vanderbilt won't be in the SEC championship game. And I think this is also going to affect Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame because the Heisman voting is conference championship Saturday through the Monday afterwards. So it's 48 hours of a news cycle of likely the conference championship winning players. And we've got a battle in the Big Ten. Unless chaos happens this weekend, it's probably going to be 1 versus 2, Ohio State versus Indiana, 2 quarterbacks at the top of the Heisman odds. Whoever wins that game, I think it's going to be saying at Ohio State. Those voters, when they go log in and make their vote, they've just been listening to the guys on TV rave about how great the Big Ten winning quarterback was with, probably being Julian Sayin. So it's a bit of a disadvantage for a guy like Pavia that he's not playing in that conference championship weekend. But, like you said, if he hangs 500 on Tennessee, it might not matter. But the Heisman, I ultimately think it's going to go to the quarterback that wins the Big Ten, but we'll see.
Here's something to watch too. You say that'll hurt Pavia, and I think I can see it. But for the reasons you said. But here's the thing. Do you know who's got the most yards per play against Ohio State this year? It's Arch Manning in Texas, if you can believe that.
Oh, my God. I didn't know that.
If Fernando Mendoza is the guy, and he runs up against the buzzsaw that's their defense, I do have a little bit of question of whether that actually helps a Diego Pavia. If because both defenses are pretty good.
They're
if
awesome.
Neither of them light the world on fire conference championship weekend. Does it come back to a guy who's not playing?
That's a great point. Could definitely happen that way. And I think they're actually the top two defenses in points allowed. It's Ohio State at like 8 points allowed, and second's Indiana at 12 points allowed. So very good point there, and could certainly be a case where they both look like trash just because of the defense they're playing.
Yeah, it'll be super fascinating to watch the next 2 weeks, wherever it goes. Speaking of fascinating, I mean, it never gets better than the Iron Bowl for drama. I mean, we have seen some nutty stuff happen in that one. And Kent, let me tell you, the recipe for nuttiness has been in the air for a few weeks now. Hugh Freeze is gone. With Hugh Freeze gone and removed from play calling duties and everything else, that offense has really taken off. Now, granted, a game against a Vanderbilt defense that had struggled, but this is an offense that scored 3 points the week before. Gets 38 against Vanderbilt, takes them to overtime, and then last week against Mercer, Deuce Knight, who was a 5-star recruit, just went off against Mercer, which is like for whatever it's worth, like a decent FBS team or FCS team. So I don't know what to do with all that. Like, I don't know what quarterback's going to play. Alabama can't run the ball. Auburn's at home. Like, you've got all this craziness in the air for this one.
And we've talked about this before. I've talked about it on my own channel. The Alabama Achilles heel has been quarterbacks that can run the ball. Castellanos had 78 yards and a touchdown for Florida State. Bama lost. Lenore Sellers, 67 yards against him. Bo Prabula, 61 yards against him. Mateer had 20 yards and a touchdown in Alabama's other loss. If Deuce Knight runs the ball like that, that is exactly what Alabama can't stop. So, and honestly, Jackson Arnold can run the ball too. Like, whoever Auburn rolls out is going to be able to run the ball. Now, Alabama's passing defense is 5th in the country. So if Alabama gets an early lead, if it's Deuce Knight playing quarterback, they turn him into a passer. That's the recipe to Alabama hitting cruise control and winning this game. But anything can happen in Jordan-Hare. And Alabama's only a 5.5 point favorite right now on FanDuel, which is like, this thing's going down to the final plays of the fourth quarter, as it always does. And, the first couple games, let's say it is Deuce Knight, like, you can't ask for a better tee-up mid-season than kind of a tune-up game against Mercer, and then against a team that can't stop the run or a scrambling quarterback in Alabama. So, obviously, can't wait for it, but should be an awesome one.
Well, and look, we've sat here and we mentioned 3 Auburn quarterbacks. We haven't even mentioned the guy that's presumably going to start in Ashton Daniels. That's how crazy this is.
Exactly. Like, this, Alabama doesn't know who to prepare for, neither do we.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. And apparently they're saying he's the guy. Like, he didn't play last week. They preserved his red shirt by keeping him out. So I get it. But, like, Deuce Knight goes out and lights the world on fire. And he's the guy that when they recruited him, he's thought to be the future of the program. I do wonder, like, how does some of those dynamics, because Auburn obviously means a ton to spoil Alabama's season, but you're going nowhere other than that. Like, how does that part of it affect things? And of course, the coaching staff that's here probably isn't going to be here next year. Like, there's just all kinds of stuff that I don't know what to do with.
Yeah, and if there is a coaching change, like we all expect, whether it's Summerall or whoever, he might bring his own guys in. So some of these guys these are tryouts for the portal. And I would think they want to keep Deuce Knight and will pay him whatever it takes to keep him there. But it could be where they've got a few packages for him, and he's like, this is my tryout to go get a bag from somebody else. But regardless, they're going to be fired up. And if it's nothing more than playing spoiler against that team they don't like, we're going to see they're going to give it their all.
All right, last one. Speaking of rivalries, got a pretty big one out in Texas. A&M tries to stay unbeaten. Marcel Reed is trying to make a push for the Heisman. Texas, I don't know what we're going to get week to week. A&M is 2.5 point favorite in Austin. So what do we make of this one?
I can't wait. I don't even have a gut feeling either way on where this is going to go. Arch has been getting better each week, but A&M, like, the second half, the way they looked in the second half against South Carolina, that was unbelievable. And I think the concept we talked about with the Heisman kind of applies here. Like, if Marcel Reed goes off against Texas, I believe he's 5th in the odds right now. If he goes off against Texas, then he's getting to play on conference championship weekend, guaranteed. And if he wins the SEC championship, we're looking at an undefeated SEC championship winning quarterback who can run the ball. Those are going to be Heisman votes right there. And I mentioned the timing of the Heisman voting. Like, he's not out of the picture for the Heisman yet. So not only are they playing for the SEC championship, he's got a ton to play for, and it's against the big rival Texas in Austin. I think so. He's plus 1,500 on FanDuel, so still a bit of a long shot, but the path is laid out for him to go take this thing if he can.
Yeah, I'll be super interested to see that. I mean, A&M has got it locked up for the playoff. Can lose this one and still, I think, make it. Texas, a 3-loss Texas team with some chaos could be potentially a little bit interesting. I would bet against it, but I think ESPN's FBI gave them still like a 4% chance. You root for chaos, and I think it's hard to make a case, but just going to throw that one out there too.
Yeah, and there's also the whole aspect of if it's them versus somebody else. Like let's say an Oregon or somebody goes down, and a few other these at-large teams go down, and all of a sudden Texas is back up in that 10-11 range next week. It could be a situation of, well, that week 1 loss to Ohio State, we don't want to punish them for that. We want teams to keep scheduling games like that. So let's really count it as 2 losses for Texas, and Arch is getting better each week. It's such an outside shot. They need a ton of help, but they still are playing for the chance to be standing there at the end of the day if chaos does happen.
Kent, enjoyed our conversation. Anything else with the SEC or college football that stands out with you before we end this today?
I made a video about this yesterday. I think we're staring down the barrel of the greatest rivalry weekend we've ever had. Part of that's shout out to a 12-team playoff because there's more playoff seeding implications than we've ever seen before. But also, each conference has at least 4 teams that are separated by less than a game. So the the lead up into conference championship weekend is going to be awesome. There's going to be chaos, and I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. Hey, Kent, thanks for joining us. Hope we'll do this again sometime. Tell folks where they find your stuff.
Yeah, so it's just my name, Kent, and then sports. It's pretty simple. I really wasn't the most creative when I came up with my username, so it's just Kent Sports on TikTok, Kent Sports 24 on Instagram, and talking a lot of college ball, and I'll be watching the games all weekend and can't wait.
All right, he's Kent Padgett from FanDuel. I'm Chris Lee from Southeastern 16. Thank you guys for watching. Everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. God bless you all. You're watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.